appointment slots every day. We are filling them, but we are booking about 2 or 3 days out right now, and we want to help you. And there's no commitment. Come to a consultation and we'll go from there. I'm also running for office. If you follow me, hopefully you know this by now. If not, I'm doing something wrong. And I am running for House District 50 for the Texas House of Representatives, which is in Northeast Austin. I was very honored to receive the endorsement from the Austin American-Statesman yesterday morning, and that's a very nice surprise. One of the things about the Statesman endorsement is they are very thorough. They interview us about lots of different policies, and it is really a determination of how well they think that we will govern, and not just, a lot of these other endorsements can be about like who your friends are, or, who owes you favors. And I'm going to talk more about the endorsement process post-election. I don't really want to get into it now because it might seem self-serving in a way, and I'm not interested in that. But I've learned a lot about endorsements on the campaign trail, and I think that there's a need of a bit of reform in this area. But I will say I was impressed by, and I respect the way that the Austin American-Statesman conducted their endorsement process. It felt very thorough and considered, and it was a surprise, and I'm very honored to have received their endorsement. So thank you to the Statesman. And with that, let's get to the news of the week. Go ahead and start hitting me with your questions or comments, and we'll get to them. Let's start with the best news. How great was that Super Bowl performance? It was so good. I mean, I was like, I'm sure, if you're in the meat camp, we were like watching like this the whole time. Just like crying, dancing, celebrating, just like so in awe of all of the little messages. And there was so much happening. The first time I saw it, I was like, I don't understand the power lines. I didn't catch that he was carrying the old Puerto Rican flag that had been banned. There was a lot of things that I didn't catch. Donica, is that her name? From New York. Like there were just all these little placements, but it was really obvious on its face that it was such a celebration of Puerto Rican and Latino culture, and just like such a love fest, such a joy fest, and such a viral moment, of course, as we know, the most watched Super Bowl ever. But like also I spent some time yesterday on the internet in sort of both of the categories, like the people who watched the Turning Point show. And I didn't watch it during the Super Bowl, of course, but afterward, I couldn't find the Bad Bunny show on YouTube. Like it hadn't uploaded yet. And I was like, okay, well, just for fun, I'm going to go see what the Turning Point show was like. And it was like, oh, bless their hearts. It was like their little like wimpy little fireworks and just bad music. And it just was incomparable, just the two things did not compare. And I've been reflecting on like the two categories of people, like people who supported the Super Bowl, the halftime show, the Bad Bunny show. The response to that has been such a message of unity and celebration of culture, and like grown men literally crying, sobbing because they feel so seen and appreciated and respected finally, and just like the amount of joy and fun and celebration in the people who supported the Super Bowl show. And then you go over to the other camp and read like what they're talking about, and they are, I don't know, mad that Bad Bunny has mucha novia. And they're mad that they didn't understand the words. And like over here, so literally pouting like a bunch of toddlers. And it's just like, it's such a good, I don't know, illustration of what we're up against generally. Like, do we want to be on the side of love? The only thing more powerful than hate is love and celebration and culture. Or do we want to be on the side that's mad that we don't understand Spanish? Like, pick. You actually have a choice. You can actually not be over here whining and complaining. How about that? How about we do that? I can't even understand why you would be like over here and feel like you are in a better place. That is not a better place. You're not in a better place when you're over here on the turning point side. FYI. And also just like Heather Cox Richardson, as you guys know, I love her. She wrote up about the Super Bowl. And she wrote the final line, like, how was this for you guys? Like when all the flags were coming out the very end, and he says, God bless America, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Panamá, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, México, Cuba, la República Dominicana, Jamaica, Haiti, Antilles, United States, Canada, y Puerto Rico. Oh, it was just like so good. And his football says, together, we are America. Just so good. And like even the Canadians are like celebrating. It's just what a message of unity. What an awesome, awesome, awesome show that was. I'm still on a high. And we also had our 2 Immigrants with Love over the weekend, our first one. There are going to be many more on Saturday. So many people showed up from the community, such an eclectic, amazing crew. We had open mics, we sang songs, we shared poetry. People talked about their immigrant experience. People cried. We had café de olla and postres de Cristina Gracias. And it was just like such a love fest. So great. Perfect precursor to the Super Bowl. And we're doing our next one. This is going to be your action item too, but I'll give you a, clue. We're doing our next one on February 28th. And my mom and my stepdad are creating more songs and chants that we're going to start to learn as a community for some of the protests coming up. So if you're into like all the chants and songs that you've been hearing, come on. Like people showed up at this last event who I've never met before. You're just followers on Instagram, and you showed up and like brought your drums, and it was the coolest. So keep it coming. We're doing it again February 28th. Muy bien. Okay, let's get to the news of the week. Big surprise. Less than 14% of the nearly 400,000 immigrants arrested by ICE in the last year had violent criminal history. 400,000, let's just start there. 400,000 people living, working, existing in the United States, contributing to our economy, paying taxes, taking care of our elderly, working in hospitality, working in construction, taken from their families off the streets into detention in for-profit private prison companies, and fewer than 14% have violent criminal histories. And that is from ICE's own data, by the way. That's not an outside report. I mean, it was reported to CBS, but that is ICE's own data. Next, ICE detainees from Maine. So we know that there was an operation in Maine around just toward the end of the Minnesota operation. The people who have been detained there are being held in administrative processing facilities. So ICE has facilities. Excuse me, I need to clear my throat. They're all inhumane, but ICE has facilities that are meant for just processing people, and then they have facilities that are meant for holding people. And the processing centers generally, like, they don't have a kitchen, they don't have bed space, they don't have showers. It's not meant to actually hold people even overnight. But people are being held in these facilities for more than 10 days. In Maine in really, really inhumane conditions. So that's happening. Next, Representative Tony Gonzalez, who's a Republican on the border, defends conditions at the Texas detention center with measles outbreak, which is Dilley. This is what he said. The facility in Dilley, I've visited there many times. I visited dozens of facilities. It is a nice facility. It is a detention facility for people that are in the country illegally that are about to be deported. Wrong. No. But it's a nice facility. Also wrong. Nicer than some elementary schools. Okay. Number one, that's a problem for our schools, right? Number two, I don't care. I honestly don't care if it's the Taj Mahal, which it ain't. We are detaining children. And ProPublica published a bunch of letters. I mean, they're heartbreaking letters from these kids who are detained there because, I mean, I have a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old. My 13-year-old is a really great artist and does a lot of comics. And there were some drawings from other young teenage girls where they wrote a letter about how they're suffering and then drew these pictures of them and their family. And they were just like the drawings that my own daughter makes. And I encourage people to read these letters and to see yourselves and your own families in these detention centers. It doesn't matter. The conditions don't matter, frankly, if they are locked away and unable to leave, and they're away from their friends, they're away from their family, they're away from their other siblings, those families are separated, and the conditions are also shitty, Representative Gonzalez. So I just got invited to speak on a panel with him and Congressman Joaquin Castro. So it'll be me, Joaquin Castro, and Tony Gonzalez at the end of March in San Antonio at Trinity University. I'm already salty about it, so I don't know how this is going to go. I'm going to try and be diplomatic, but like, can we not go out on a press junket, press tour, talking about how great the conditions are at the freaking jail we have for children? Maybe not that, Gonzalez. Okay. Next, we have total chaos and disruption in the immigration court system. You guys may have heard of the news of habeas cases. So most immigration court cases are in the immigration court system, which is an executive branch. That's where bond cases have been heard for decades. Earlier last year, the court system took the position that they no longer have jurisdiction or authority to issue bonds, meaning release people from detention in the immigration court system. So a bunch of lawyers started filing habeas petitions in federal court, and over 93% of those cases have been approved by the federal judges because it's so blatantly illegal, right? What I said, 93%. We're talking judges appointed by many different presidents, right? And by like vast majority of these get approved. Well, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which oversees, I think, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. I'm pretty sure it's Mississippi. Unfortunately, is, over the federal court system in Texas, issued this ridiculous decision last week saying that the immigration court system is right and that we can't authorize habeas for people. And, it's kind of complicated and gets in the weeds about the definition of an arriving alien and all of that stuff, which is not really what I want to get to. What I want to get to is the outlet that we've had to get people out of detention is under attack in the federal court system. So we're going to have to be watching that closely to see what happens. Meanwhile, the Trump administration fired 100 judges in the immigration court system last year of 700. So significant percentage of the judges. And we have a backlog of 3 million cases. So why again do we do that? And coincidentally, I'm sure they all happen to be the more moderate, fair judges within the system. They've now replaced them with only 33 judges, all of whom are from the military, by the way. They serve under Pete Hegseth. But let's finish with some good news. The second federal judge has blocked the IRS from sharing taxpayer information with ICE. So we know that ICE is trying to get people's addresses from the IRS. 2 judges now have blocked that and said that that creates privacy considerations. There's also really obvious policy considerations here. We would like for people to pay their taxes and file their tax return. That's probably good for everybody, right? However, when immigrants know that their tax data is just being funneled right to ICE so that they can get nabbed off the streets, I don't know, maybe they're going to stop filing their taxes. That might be a predictable consequence. So it's also stupid from a policy perspective. So good to see that the federal judges are doing good things, and we'll keep tracking that. Okay, I'm getting to your comments. I got a lot of them. Thanks for being here. Team Dolores, good morning. Great to meet you this weekend. You too. Thank you so much for being there. Come back on the February 28th event that we have. Juanaquito de corazón. Saludos, un abrazo a la distancia. Siempre le... Something. Inmensamente agradecido. Gracias por tu comentario. Willie González, abogada Kate. Es usted muy buena tratando de ayudar a la comunidad hispana. Felicidades. Por otro lado, habemos muchísimas personas que ya nos cansamos de estar así. Ya no hay sueño americano. Se acabó. Willie González, estoy de acuerdo y entiendo completamente ese sentimiento. What Willie is saying is he appreciates the treatment and the community toward the Latino community, but there on the other side, there are a lot of people who are just tired of feeling this way and that there's no more American dream. It has ended. And I understand that, Willie, and it's not done yet. We are actually making a difference. What I want to say is those of us, I understand if you're here and you're an immigrant and you've decided you want out, zero judgment whatsoever. I completely understand, respect, and support that decision. And if you are someone who has decided to stay, especially if you have legal status here, green card or citizenship, do not give up the fight. We are seeing lots of movement right now. We saw the partial government shutdown to resist more funding for DHS after the murder of Alex Preddy. People are taking to the streets. The youth are walking out of schools. The kids are protesting. Look at Bad Bunny. Look at the reaction to Bad Bunny. Like, there is this upswell in the United States right now. And we're combating, those turning point whiny babies over there. Well, that's who we're up against. But remember, 145 million people plus tuned in to Bad Bunny. 5 million tuned in to Kid Rock. The public opinion about Trump and what he's doing is literally plummeting, like down 13 points again. The American public is not down with what is going on in immigration enforcement. We've got primary election coming up March 3rd. A lot of Democratic candidates are going to be selected. We're going to see if it's going to be Tallarico. Is it going to be Crockett? Is it going to be Gina Hinojosa for governor of Texas? Like, we are going to get to select our Democratic representatives, maybe me for District 50, and then we'll be headed toward the midterms. And these midterms are going to be a blowout, y'all. They are. Now, we have to watch against tyranny and the obvious efforts of the Trump administration to block an election. That is definitely on the radar. However, if the midterms happen, I would not be surprised if we take back control of the House and the Senate and maybe even the legislature of Texas. So don't give up. Those of us here's the deal. If you've decided to go, we love you, bless you. Oh, totally understand. If you've decided to stay, it is not time to give up yet. We got to keep fighting. From Honduras, have work visas. Honduras no longer under protection. Will visas hold? If you're here and you have a valid visa, there's no cancellation of current and valid visas. As always, though, if you have legal status and you are an immigrant, or if you don't have legal status, you need to consult directly with me or a lawyer that you trust about your specific case, because individuals are different and not one thing applies to everybody. I'm always happy to answer questions here. I love it. I love it when you guys are here asking questions. A lot of these questions I'm going to say, can we please talk in private about your situation? Because I don't want you to blast all your information, in public. And that's one thing about talking to a lawyer, by the way, guys, is your information is completely confidential. It's part of our ethical rules as attorneys. When we get licensed, like, our number one rule as lawyers is confidentiality, almost more than any of the others. Protecting our clients' money is another high one. But confidentiality, we do not disclose information about our clients. And a lot of these people who are forms preparers, They're good business people, y'all. They got websites, they got social media, they know a lot of stuff. They're cheaper. They're getting good. A lot of these notarios and these forms preparers. And they think that they're being ethical because they tell you they're not a lawyer. That it's not ethical. First of all, you're not protected by confidentiality. Their stuff can get grabbed under subpoena, or they can be forced to testify against you. They also have just no confidentiality rules whatsoever. But also they don't have the training and the protection, because if I mess something up for one of my clients, my client can file a bar grievance against me and say, I put my hands in I put my life in the hands of this lawyer who has a license, and she fucked it up. And now I deserve a chance to fix it. And there's a whole process for that. It is provided for. But if you put your life in the hands of someone who's not a lawyer and they mess it up, guess what the bar's going to say? Too bad for you. You chose the wrong person. So it's another reason to choose lawyers. And this is a battle I won't let go of, because there's a lot of well-meaning forms preparers who are good people. They're good and decent people. But it's really important that you guys use lawyers for your immigration case. It really is important, because it is protection for you. And I know it's weird. It sounds self-serving because I'm a lawyer and I'm like, oh, you should only use lawyers. I hope you know me well enough by now to know that I do this work because I have your best interests in my top of mind, top of my heart. This is my life's mission, right? To help provide protection and dignity and family unity to the immigrants of this country. And putting your lives in the hands of someone who's not a lawyer is not helpful to you. Okay. Miranda, can you speak more on the Fifth Circuit law that just passed regarding immigration? Okay. So the Fifth Circuit is the appellate court over the federal courts. So the way it goes is there's like hundreds of federal courts around the country, like the Western District of Texas and the Northern District of Texas. I actually don't know how many courts there are. There's a lot. There are circuit courts that review the appeals of all of those lower federal courts. And we are in Texas in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. So it goes federal court, Fifth Circuit, Supreme Court. So what's been happening in the federal courts is they've been ordering people released from detention, because the immigration judges are like, we don't have jurisdiction. If somebody entered without a visa, we can't release them, because that's an executive policy. So starting last year, we started seeking release in the federal court systems. And there have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these cases. Over 93% have been approved. People have been getting out of detention because of the lower federal court decisions. Well, just last week, the Fifth Circuit, because the government appealed a couple of these decisions in the Fifth Circuit, and they forum shopped. They chose the decisions here in Texas because they knew that the appellate court would be on their side. So they appealed to the Fifth Circuit, and the Fifth Circuit said, we agree with the immigration judges that we don't have jurisdiction to release people who entered without a visa, because they're seeking admission, therefore they're arriving aliens, definitions. This is a departure from decades of interpretation in the immigration court. So it's this wild new creation of Stephen Miller, probably. And the Fifth Circuit is like, you know what? We agree with you. So that has sent shockwaves throughout our community, lawyers, because we're like, oh, are we not going to be able to file these habeas petitions to get people out of detention? It's all too fresh and new. We're still making due process arguments. So the argument is still, well, this person was detained without a judicial warrant. They were taken off the street without probable cause, and therefore they should be released, separate from their manner of entry. So we are too early, because this decision was just issued, I think it was Friday. We're too early, it's only Tuesday, to know how this is going to be applied in most of the federal courts. I've seen one case in Houston in which the judge ordered release, but it does create more complications for us on these cases. Yaz, DACA, Texas, no update. How annoying is that? We are still waiting on Judge Hainan to issue his decision interpreting the Fifth Circuit's decision. Again, the Fifth Circuit, not our friend, The Fifth Circuit ordered that in Texas, only Texas of the 50 states, the state would be harmed by having to issue driver's licenses to dreamers with work permits in Texas, and therefore DHS can deny work permits to dreamers in Texas. That is not final. It has not been ordered by Hanen. He is not, I mean, he had a hearing in late November and we're still awaiting a decision. He's sitting on it. And for me, no news is good news. So if you don't follow me, you probably do follow me because you're seeing this. If you don't follow me on some social media, click follow now, because I will do an immediate video whenever there's breaking news on DACA or anything like that. And I'll help you guys interpret and understand it. I'm really careful. I don't share stuff that's not true. I research it before I post about it. You can trust what I, send you. I stay up to date. It is my job. So if you want to know that you're getting real, up to date, good immigration advice, follow my social media. There's a lot of noise out there, a lot of bad information, a lot of rumors fly, a lot of people talking out their mouth and they don't know what they're talking about. And you have to get good advice. I'm sorry, you guys. My throat is not cooperating this morning. Lisette, what happens with someone currently pending habeas? Those are, TBD. We are waiting to see what's going to happen. We have, I think, 12 pending in my law firm right now, and we'll have a lot of information this week coming up. I'll be doing this show on Thursday in Spanish, and I'll get an update. I'm going to go meet with my lawyers right after this in 15 minutes and find out what everybody's thinking, what we're seeing. So I'll know more on Thursday, and then obviously I'll know a lot more next Tuesday. We'll have a whole week under our belt, but it's really up in the air, and it's really unfortunate because, as we covered, these are folks without criminal histories, and it's a crazy interpretation of the law to claim that we don't have jurisdiction to release these people. I will take this moment to remind everybody that the people who are being detained in private, for-profit prison facilities, like literal money being earned and paid to the shareholders of the companies that are detaining migrants. And those are billion-dollar businesses. And those billion-dollar businesses have lobbyists that go into Washington and push their policy. And they enrich themselves on the continued indefinite detention of migrants in cheap, low-cost facilities like Dilley, which Tony Gonzalez would have you believe is great, better than some schools. It's not true. I mean, first of all, our schools need to be upgraded. Second of all, it's not great. It's not a great facility. It might be slightly less restrictive than a regular maximum security prison. But we're talking about children. I don't know. You guys might remember this. I've been doing family detention work since I got started, which was 20 years ago. And my professor is Barbara Hines, legend. And she was litigating the Hutto Detention Center with my other friend, Lisa Graybill. And this was the first family detention center that opened under George Bush. And so they were suing Corrections Corporation of America, private prison company, now called the GEO Group. Or is it? No, that one's CoreCivic now. And then they were suing the Department of Homeland Security. They were not successful in shutting down the facility, but they did settle for improved conditions. So we saw this medium security prison turn into a family detention center, which is kind of like what we have today. And I kid you not, you guys, this is what they did. They opened the bars to the cells, and those remained open. Okay. They painted the walls bright colors, and they literally put like dancing broccoli on the lunchroom walls. And then the common areas were painted like pink. So they painted them brightly, and then they put playscape equipment in the rec area. Oh, and they brought in teachers, which they don't have now. And what else? They got to wear their own clothing. And then they were like, see, now it's great. Family detention center. And I can tell you the mental health of those children suffered equally. whether there were murals on the wall or not. It's not about how comfy the space is. First of all, they don't make it comfy. They don't make a jail comfy. But what it is that harms these children is the stress, the anxiety, the indefinite nature of detention, the looming deportation, the suffering of their parents, the separation from their other parent or their other siblings, the inability to move, the inability to control their circumstances, the jail-like setting that they're in. And I don't care if you have down pillows and 700 thread count sheets, which they don't. Doesn't matter. It does not matter. Tony Gonzalez. Oh, if y'all want to come to watch me on that panel, you can come. It's going to be March 28th. I was just notified about that yesterday. I was like, oh. Okay. I was a victim of sexual assault when I was 13 or 14 years old. Truthfully, I've never told my parents until recently when I mentioned it to them. It has been a few years since I told them. I know the person's name and everything. He was the husband of one of my uncles. First of all, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It wasn't just once. It happened several times, and people have mentioned to me that this could qualify as being a victim of a crime in the United States. Yes, it can. Child sexual assault has a very, very long statute of limitations. So we would want to explore how much time has passed and whether you could file a report and look into a crime victims visa. So message me and we will schedule you a confidential consultation. Okay. If ICE already sent me back to my country under voluntary departure, is there any possibility of returning to Texas in the future? My wife and my 3 children remain there. Yes, you can come back, especially if your wife has legal status. I need to talk to you more about your wife's status, the age of your kids, how long you were here, how you got picked up, etc. We need more information, but sometimes there are ways to come back legally. This is a broad question. How can I obtain a work permit? This will give me a moment to tell you guys about the immigration system overall. The immigration system in the United States is overly unnecessarily complicated. It's really a ridiculous thing. I don't have my books here, but it's like the INA is like that thick, a really thin paper. But generally, the ways that people get legal status are through employment, through family, through humanitarian options, or through deportation defense, like they're in court. Okay. So through employment, that means like you get a work visa, or you graduate from college and you get a work visa, or your employer invites you to come here. Those generally are the most strict and difficult ways to get legal status. Like you generally can't have worked in the United States without permission or even been in the United States without permission. So that generally is not an outlet for people who have been here undocumented. Sometimes, again, it's complicated, but generally not. Family-based immigration, equally complex, but a little bit more flexible than employment. Like there are waivers available. You can still get legal status if you've worked without permission. This is for family members of citizens and permanent residents. And the best thing to do if you have an immediate relative who is a citizen or a permanent resident is come to a consultation and we'll talk to you about eligibility. Then humanitarian cases. We do a lot of these. A lot of people qualify for these and they don't actually know about it. So VAWA is Violence Against Women Act. If you're in a relationship with a U.S. citizen and you've been suffered cruelty in that relationship, that could be an option for you. The U visa is for victims of crime who assist law enforcement with the investigation. The T visa is for victims of abuse in the workplace. This actually applies to a lot more people than know about it. Right? If you've had a really bad job where you were threatened or forced to do things that you didn't want to do, even if it was like at a restaurant or cleaning service company, all of that stuff could fall under the T visa category. And so those are humanitarian cases. I'll lump DACA into that too. And then the last one is if you get picked up and you're in removal proceedings, then you can defend yourself, sometimes through asylum or something called cancellation of removal, which is for people who've been here for 10 years, have good moral character, and have a immediate relative, like a U.S. citizen child who would suffer hardship if you get deported, like they're sick or need medical or mental health care, things like that. So that's the general way that people get legal status. And a lot of those cases come with a work permit while you're waiting. But this is an example. It's a good conversation around why it's so important to get a consultation, because people might qualify for a couple of different options. They don't even know about it. I often say, like, a pair of twins have different immigration eligibility, even though they have the same parents. Maybe they immigrated at the same time, went to the same schools, but you're going to have had different relationships. You're going to have had different work experiences, different skills and professions. Like, there are things about living a life that it's like a fingerprint, only you have that life. And that is what leads to your immigration eligibility. And that's why it's so important for you to have an individual consultation with a lawyer about your eligibility. And I'll just take this moment to tell you guys on the consultation, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to come for a consultation because I've already been to a lawyer and they told me I don't qualify for anything. The end. Okay, understood. We do have something for people who are undocumented and can't get legal status. It's called Luz en el Camino, or the Peace of Mind package. This is where we create a relationship with you for 1 year at a time, where we send you a letter of representation. We do a strategy session with a lawyer. We collect important documents for you, and we give you an emergency hotline that you can call in case you get detained. So this is the way that we can protect you if you are undocumented and ineligible for legal status. So call us anyway, even if you don't think there's anything that we can do to help you get legal status. Okay, let's talk about our action tip of the week. The Two Immigrants with Love event was such a blast, so good. We're doing it again soon. We're doing it on February 28th. We're going to be having an open mic. People will share poetry, they'll share experiences, but we're also going to be learning some chants and music that we can sing at the next big rally. So if you have been drawn to some of the chants that you're hearing on social media and you want to be part of a group like that, come to see us on February 28th, and we'll start learning these songs together, led by my mama, Susan Lincoln, who is an amazing woman. And if you don't know of her, you will love her. So if you want to meet my mama, come on February 28th. I'll see you guys there. I'll see you el jueves in Espanol, Thursday in Spanish, covering the same topics as always. Thanks for being with me. Love you guys. See you soon.